Hello, this is Helene Oberman, Managing Director of Interior Design Magazine, and I'd like to welcome you. At Interface, there's the ever-present sense of exploration and innovation, a willingness to test, try, and try again. They are secure in the knowledge that to pioneer is to progress, to discover is to succeed, and that they can help create a better world, one designer at a time. With me today to discuss the Interface ethos and their approach to design given the current state of the world is Mindy O'Gara, Director of Product and Learning Experience, and Amber Brown, Director of the Interface Design Studio. Now, well, first of all, welcome both for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
So while I know it's maybe a little too early on to have all the answers, I think today's conversation is really important because we need to help the design community strategize together, and it's about this togetherness, about how we can create real solutions really for both the here and now and for the future. Now, Mindy, I thought it might be nice to actually start with you and have you jump in. So how is Interface utilizing a systematic approach to designing your products that can really help the design community develop some of these solutions?
Well, first of all, systemic thinking is a theme at Interface that really carries out almost like a ripple effect with how we approach design. After all, design it's ever evolving. We're always seeking better solutions, materials and experiences, how things work together. And because design and the needs of the humans that actually occupy spaces continues to evolve, so do we. And this really does set up a holistic approach to how we create and innovate. And the goal is really to set these things in motion that actually create better experiences for the humans that are inside the built environment.
And so, you have come to think at Interface that, you as a company are one part of a broader picture, I should say, and that really interconnectedness is really at the heart of who you guys are. Can you explain, and I know you just touched on it, how your idea of how holistic solutions involve these intricate worlds of dependencies?
Absolutely. You're exactly right, Helene. We're part of a bigger experience. And that's both inside the built environment as well as outside the built environment. So by nature, we're linked to other elements that work together to create a desired result, whether that's a beautiful aesthetic or to promote a sense of community or simply to enhance an individual's experience through their senses. And this is especially true when it comes to material selection, especially of one of the most substantial planes in architecture, which is the floor for us, but there's also the ceiling and the walls, and how everything works together. For example, if somebody really wants to use exposed concrete ceilings or columns, it's important to think about how they're going to mitigate noise. And one way would be by using sound absorbing materials in other places, possibly the floor, with things like carpet tile or LVT and rubber that also have sound absorbing qualities. It's really just all about how things work together and in concert together, because the elements within the built environment really are interconnected. It's like a web, really. When you pull on one part of the web, it affects another. So how we work in concert, it's like a big recipe, so to speak. How you've got to think about materials in association to the other elements that are within the space to make it a successful experience. Both, and this isn't true for just one sense. When you think about all of our senses, what we see, what we hear, even what we smell in some cases, what we feel, either tactily with what we're touching, but also what we feel underfoot, all of these are part of that experience, and they have to work together to create a happy and healthy experience for the individual.
And would you say, kind of touching on this idea of materiality, so, of course, flooring can play a large role in defining how a space looks and how it feels, whether it's more quiet, but also can you kind of speak to this idea how flooring can also help define how it functions, right? So the materials that you may select, so whether it's your carpet tiles or your LVT or rubber flooring, can also really help determine the behaviors that happen to be on them. or work upon them, I should say.
Absolutely. And you know what, actually, before we can determine those behaviors, we first have to ask, what are the desired behaviors? Because that really is what materials designed for, is what do we want those behaviors to be to contribute to that experience. For example, if somebody is wanting to bring in, say, comfort and warmth to a space, they might consider a textile like carpet tile. If they're working in an area or a project where, you know, safety and slip and fall resistance might be of importance, they might consider rubber. If they're wanting a hospitality aesthetic, but they need a hard surface, LVT might be the answer. So we have this broad stretch of materials that enable us to work with a customer as well on, you know, whether it's a specific customer or a specific project, to really understand their needs. And we do this much like a consultant, and we can help guide them to a material that will help promote that sensory experience that's desired.
I want to ask you, Mindy, because I know there's a lot of current conversations that are really centered on this idea of how essential it is for this like new workplace to be resilient in design. So how can flooring really help solve sort of the current needs of a space and make it really easy to evolve over time?
You know, for us, being flooring designers and manufacturers, obviously we're very focused on the floor, and it is one of the most influential planes in architecture, and the demands on it are extreme. And it's got to live up to its potential daily, you know, from the moment that it goes down all the way into the future. You know, this plane in architecture has so much potential when it comes to beautiful aesthetics, or if you need high performance, or to build in safety or acoustical value. But the other thing, the other need that it has to meet within a space from an owner's standpoint is it's got to meet budget considerations as well. So when you think of all of these different needs that someone might need with a space, and then you couple that with our modular system, what this does is it sets the stage for the floor to become very resilient and flexible. It allows it to evolve over time, whether that's to update an aesthetic down the road, or possibly respond to an expansion, or even, you know, a temporary solution to help with physical distancing, much like what we're experiencing right now during this pandemic. So we want to continue to provide beautiful products that are designed to perform, that are designed for certain outcomes, but they also have this ability to not be a static situation.
Wait, so Mindy, I hear that maybe this is not your favorite turn of phrase, but Interface really embraces the fact that modularity must be mandatory, and that like you really should be thinking about that, and designers should be thinking about that within their space, you know, beyond obviously just flooring, but flooring is one component that you can think of as modular.
Absolutely, flooring is one component, and actually I love the word modular.
It is mandatory.
But you have to put that into context.
Yeah.
It might be mandatory if you want intelligent, beautiful results, but it's not forced. It's a choice, and the way I look at it is, when you understand systems thinking and how modularity works, it just becomes so smart that it makes so much sense to use it.
And, you know, I would love to think about going back to this idea of sort of interconnectedness, and it's really important. It's obviously thinking about how an individual connects with their space, but also obviously thinking about how the pieces and furniture and furnishings within a space are interconnected. I mean, would you say that, you know, creating a much more interconnected environment will really help, you know, the development of individuals to be much more successful in how they work within a space?
Of course, because ultimately what we're designing for is really the success and the happiness and the well-being of individuals and businesses. You know, when you think about the environment around us, whether that's the natural environment or the human-made environment, it's actually an extension of our personal experience. And one of my favorite quotes about architecture and really just the built environment in general is by Johanni Palasma. I don't know if you have ever heard of him, but one of his quotes is that architecture is the art of reconciliation between ourselves and the world. And this mediation takes place through the senses. And what I love about that is it really does show that so much of how we're interconnected to our environment, again, whether it's the natural or the built environment, comes through our perception, which comes through our sensory experience. And this is influenced by the materials around us and how they're used in a space. You know, a lot of times we think they're just a backdrop, but they aren't. They're actually functional design tools that bring meaning and relevance and success to the outcome of the individuals within the space.
So thinking about your portfolio of collections, do you think they're designed to provide these space-specific solutions that manifest sort of that sense of space and brand and place that you speak of?
You know, definitely there are, you know, one thing about our materials is we have a variety of materials that we feel meet a lot of different needs and on a broad spectrum. And there are going to be times when those individual materials are exactly the right thing for the right space. But you're also going to have some other areas where they might cross over just a little bit. And that's where understanding the project's needs and the user's needs are going to come into play with how we'll consult with our customers to make sure that the right material for the user and also the business are being, you know, deployed within that space.
Well, actually, Amber, that speaks a lot to sort of your world, because I know you really think about the dialogue, right? You need to have this dialogue. It's so absolutely necessary between yourselves as the manufacturer and the designer and what the ultimate needs are of the end user and the space, correct?
Absolutely. So, you know, we start every project with exactly that dialogue, that collaboration between our in-house designers and our customers and designers at various firms to really understand the needs of the space and figure out how we can take our portfolio knowledge and combine that with their vision of the space and the needs of the space to really help them bring that to life and to create those different places and spaces throughout, whether it's a focus area or a respite area or a collaboration space or a more social space.
Have you found during this time period that some of the conversations that you're having with the design community have shifted or changed from even 6 months or a year ago?
They have. I think the general approach is still, and Interface can really help with this with the modularity, is how do we look for short-term solutions that really get to this physical distancing and allow us to accomplish what we need and provide safe spaces today, but that don't land us 2 years from now with oh, that was a COVID floor. So we still want to, you know, have a beautiful aesthetic and have the functionality and what we need in that space, defining those spaces and places. So it's really that trade-off right now between what we need today and what we might need longer term.
I'm curious, so as Interface, so innovating really to meet a designer's needs while still sort of upholding the sustainability mission that's really much who you are as a brand, you've come together and are now in the process of launching a new product program called Open Air. Can you sort of walk me through how it sort of fits into the existing portfolio and how designers are going to be able to use it?
Sure, I can do that. You know, Open Air really is it's a collection. It's kind of an expanding collection, so to speak, of styles that have revolutionized really how we manufacture and bring high quality, affordable products to market. You know, one would think that carpet is carpet, but actually when you start getting into the needs of different customers and different spaces and different projects, that can iterate out into a variety of different solutions. And, you know, one of the real solutions that so many of our customers have been asking for and need are for very space-specific areas like workstations, where you may have a broad floor plate that's quite large. They need it to be something that's beautiful, but not super dominant. They need it to be hardworking, so it's designed for performance, but they also need it to be low cost. And typically when a company designs a lower price point product, and this is true whether you're designing carpet or cars or computers, typically something's value engineered. But what's new and innovative about open air is that's not the case. What we've done is actually David Oakey, who's one of our lead product designers, he worked with our supply chain as well as our manufacturing facility and the processes that take place within there to come up with efficiencies and innovations that actually have enabled us to make beautiful, high-performing, and affordable products that we can offer out to our customers that have not been value engineered. It all comes through these manufacturing innovations through efficiency. So we're very hopeful, we're very excited about this. A lot of our customers are really excited about this because it definitely fits a need within the market.
And so open air and the products that are going to be part of this program will really work seamlessly with the existing portfolio for Interface.
They
correct?
will, because one thing you can do is obviously, because this is kind of a big recipe, as I said earlier, right? You may have one product in one area that is, maybe a little bit more simplistic in design, but then we'll be able to come in with other either carpet tiles that work as accents or more premium carpet styles like our Floor brand, which is our consumer brand, possibly even mixing in other materials, LVT and things like that. So together the materials can work in concert to fit needs from price point to aesthetics to performance. Again, there's so many different things that have to work together in order to make for a very successful floor for a customer.
I was just listening to David Oakey speaking about the design for open air, and he was even really honing in even on the color palette and, really making sure that even the colors, like pulling out the colors that were the most popular from some existing collections, just to make sure that it all ties together once it's down on the floor plate.
Absolutely. In fact, that's when you go back to kind of this systems thinking, that's part of what's built into our process. So not just for open air, but also for all of our styles, the ingredients that we work with, one of those being the yarn fiber. We build upon those so they do have intelligence and this experience to be able to connect with other products within the line.
Well, funny. So Amber, I want to make sure that you're looped back into the conversation, but even just speaking about the ingredients, because Amber, would you say, coming from the design side, would you say that good design really takes time and that it's about the journey or the design process? So taking all of these ingredients, they're really just as important as the ultimate final product.
So I think all of us would love to say that good design takes time, but I think what we're seeing is designers are more and more pressed with shorter deadlines, shorter turnaround times, and we're still seeing great design come out of that. So while we would love probably all of us to have a little bit more time in that process, I think we're seeing great things with even shorter amounts of time. It's such a scarce resource these days. I think as far as the journey and the process, absolutely, to me, that is just as important, if not more important almost, than the final outcome, because that understanding the space, that collaboration with other designers, really honing in and bringing that vision to life of what a client or designer needs to accomplish what they want for their employees in that space makes all the difference in that in product and outcome, definitely.
No, I mean, I really love the fact that Interface has shaped a culture of inclusion, and it doesn't only speak to, yourselves and to those people that are within the company, but that you've really set up a very strong network of, collaborators, supporters, and that ultimately it comes down to this partnership between you, the manufacturer, and then really the whole design community correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we are, every day collaborating with our customers, collaborating with other designers, with what I would call sister industries. So people in the furniture industry and the textile industry, just to understand best practices and what's happening in the design world so that we can make sure that we are providing the best, really most comprehensive solutions for our designers and customers.
Well, and it seems like now during this time period more than ever, it's so important to share and to keep that. I mean, we talked about it earlier, that dialogue, keeping that dialogue open, to make sure that, you know, you guys are designing for what designers need for now and for the future. Even though we kind of know, like, or we don't know, I should say, what the future holds.
Right. I mean, certainly our approach is that all of us are smarter than one of us, right? And that collaboration is really key to getting the best output and the best design that works for our customers and works for the space. So my team of designers, one of the things that we love the most about what we get to do every day is collaborating with A&D firms, collaborating with end user customers, hearing that feedback, hearing directly from them what are their needs so that we can help solve that either through the floor design or a custom product design, or even, you know, take that further into the company if it's manufacturing or other ideas that may come forward.
And Amber, I'm just curious, even given this current time period, have you, and I know I've asked before too, but even just like your process, like how have you changed internally? Like how is it collaborating with your team to sort of be creative and come up with some of these ideas that really fit and be solutions for your design partners?
You know, we have spent a lot of time talking about that and really reviewing how can we be more nimble? How do we make sure that we really understand the current climate? We ask a lot of questions and listen a lot. So whereas we may used to get a brief and be able to work directly from what came in from a salesperson, now, in almost every case, particularly for the big projects, we're setting up those phone calls with the designers and the customers to really talk through that project and work much, even more one-on-one than we had in the past to ensure that we're bringing that vision to life.
For this idea of wellness, are you seeing that it's across all the sectors as well? Because I know we center a lot on the idea of workplace, but thinking about the hospitality world, the education world, obviously there's healthcare as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, wellness has always been a hot topic, but now it seems to be sort of at the forefront of a lot of what we're doing in all the verticals.
Definitely. I think it is integral to being a human today. I think we all are so focused on, it used to be when we thought about health, we thought it was really the absence of disease. But when you really dig into it, you'll see that it actually is a fuller dimension of how not only physical well-being, but mental well-being, emotional well-being. And it really comes down to, health and well-being for the individual. And no matter what market segment it is or what industry you work in, being healthy as an employee, but holistically is going to result, with a happier employee. And I know that that's got to be something that's important to so many of the businesses out there too, is they want happy, healthy employees because it's good for everybody. So.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, mental, and I think people forget that it's not always about the physical. It's, it can be very much about sort of that mental and emotional well-being as much as sort of our health. So, but, these conversations are absolutely necessary. And I know that what we touched on today is really just the beginning of a longer conversation that we're having, going back to Amber's idea that we should really be information sharing right now. And I think we're still on this fact finding phase while we try to sort of dig through and find solutions that work given the current state of the world. But like Mindy, Amber, I want to thank you both so much for your time and your insight today. And certainly for our audience out there, you should check out the Interface website to really learn more about their brand philosophy and of course about their new open air product program. Thank you.